Jim Ralston was born on May 19, 1952, to Lawrence and Molly Ralston. Jim grew up on a small farm in Ripley County, Indiana. He had one brother who was 5 years older who helped teach him about the love for sports. His brother played on a Little League baseball team and helped teach Jim how to play. They also had a basketball goal off the side of the house that the boys often played with. As a child, Jim also enjoyed playing outside, riding bikes, and helping his family raise pigs. Ralston's father was an ag and science teacher, and in 1958 they moved to Ann Arbor so his father could do graduate work. In Ann Arbor, Ralston was able to attend football games, and this is where he fell in love with the sport. They lived in Ann Arbor until Ralston was in first grade, and then they moved to Milan, where he became involved in all sports. He attended Milan High School, where he was very successful in athletics. He got a scholarship to Millikan, where he was starting quarterback for 3 years. Towards the end of his freshman year in college, he received a call from a girl asking him to one of the sorority dances. The girl said that she was Linda Gunning, but later on he found out it was one of Linda's sorority sisters pretending to be her to set them up. At the dance, they hit it off and began dating. They were married in June of 1973 before their senior year of college. They had their first daughter, Molly, in 1981, and then 5 years later they had their youngest daughter, Jenna. Jim enjoyed bringing the girls to the Saturday morning football practices and having them be a part of the team. He now has 4 grandkids: Hope, who's 10 years old, Jace, 6 years old, Smith, 5 years old, and Wells, 3 years old. Jim Ralston had an excellent athletic career at Milan High School, where he was part of 2 conference championships and named to the North-South All-Star team. Jim had the jersey number 14 that he carried on to college, and it is also still his lucky number. Jim went to Millikan University, where he starred as team's quarterback for 3 years and earned team captain and all-conference honors in 1973. He finished his collegiate career holding multiple records: 6th all-time leader in passing for a single season, 2,028, 7th all-time leader in total offense for a single season, 2,180, and 8th all-time career passing yardage, 4,372. Jim was inducted into the Millikan University Hall of Fame in 1980. As a freshman at Millikan, Ralston played backup quarterback and had only played in some freshman games they had. Before the last game of the season, the team's record was 4-4, and they were going to play Elmer's College. They were struggling in the first half, and during halftime, the coach was giving them a pep talk, and Ralston said, out of the clear blue without telling him beforehand, Coach said, "Ralston, you're going in as quarterback." Fortunately, Ralston was able to lead the team to a win, which put him in the position to be the quarterback for the next 3 years. I think sometimes you have a time to seize the moment of your opportunities, and fortunately, I was able to do that, Ralston says with a laugh, because I don't know what would have happened if I fell flat on my face and had thrown a couple interceptions or fumbled. I really look back on that as a key moment for me, not only as a player, but also as a coach. He says his favorite part has always been to call plays. He enjoyed the huddle where they would come in and he would get to call the plays. Ralston said that is something he carried over to coaching and was a spark that showed him the leadership aspect is something that he wanted to do. Out of college, Ralston took a job at Milan, his old high school, as a biology teacher and the assistant football and assistant basketball coach. One day, Ralston went up to Ball State on a whim and stopped to see the football coach who said they had an opening, so he was able to get a graduate assistant position. Linda was also able to get her master's in elementary education during their time there. Ralston took a 1.5-year leave of absence from teaching to work with the Ball State football program and also get his master's. Once finishing at Ball State, he became the head coach of Milan for 2 years. He applied at Salem in 1978. While in Salem, he was visiting a sporting goods store and told them he was applying for the coaching position. But they told him that he shouldn't coach at Salem because they were losers. Well, that was meant to drive Jim away. He thought it would be a great place to go because the only way he could go was up. He said if he did well, then he was on his way. But if he did bad, it wouldn't be any different than before. Ralston received the call on his birthday, which was also the day his dad retired, when Cliff Kenny called him, and he was very excited to accept the job. Initially, we planned to stay in Salem for 3 or 4 years, but the next thing we knew, it had been 35, almost 40 years, Ralston said. When the Ralstons moved to Salem, they knew no one. but now just about every student between 1978 and 2014 has had either Jim or Linda as a coach, principal, or teacher. The very first game Ralston ever coached for Salem was played against West Washington and was definitely a nail-biter. The teams went into 5 overtimes, with 2 of the overtimes Salem having to score a touchdown and 2-point conversion, but were fortunate enough to pull out the win. Ralston said that was his favorite game ever and will be something he will never forget. They ended the season with a 5-5 record. In the late 70s and early 80s, Ralston said that there was a coach named Jerry Claiborne who was at Kentucky who had different clinics where he spoke. Claiborne used a defense called Y Tackle 6 that Ralston really liked. So he took some of his philosophies and made them work for him, which started Salem's basic defensive philosophies. For offense, they started the Power I in 1988, which consisted of 3 running backs in the backfield, which was very successful and was used until Ralston retired. He feels that those techniques help the program propel into the next level. Ralston says to be a great coach, it needs to be something you really have a passion for and have a large knowledge base on. He also places a big emphasis on honesty, saying, your players need to understand your honesty with what you tell them, how you treat them as a person, and that you have a sincere love and interest in them as human beings, and you show that in your affections. Also, as a coach, Ralston says you have to work with your players to find positions that serve the team as a whole, although some players may have to sacrifice for the good of the team. An attitude they tried to instill is that they play for each other, and in doing that, they would have a chance to be really successful. In turn, to be a great player, natural ability and dedication through sacrificing time and effort to make yourself better can help make them great. Ralston also said that not putting limits on yourself and being self-motivated can be very beneficial. Anthony Hammock was one of Ralston's former players who went on to be a running back at Rose-Hulman and was very successful. Ralston was able to watch Hammock play in the Hoosier Dome. Philip Bousman was another one of Ralston's former players who went on to play in college for IU Bloomington, and Ralston also went there to watch him play. Ralston says he still tries to come back to watch at least one Salem game a year, but still follows them extensively and keeps up with their records. When asking Ralston if he misses coaching when he comes back and watches, his reply is, I miss the second and short calls is what I tell everyone as a joke. But I feel like when I quit, it was the right time, and it was also time for me to do something different. Coach Ralston led the Lions as head coach for 19 seasons. Under his leadership, the Lions were very successful and won 6 MSC championships and the school's only sectional championship in 1994 as of his date of induction into the Hall of Fame. Coach Ralston's team still holds the record for most points scored in a season, 399 in 1992, and least amount of points allowed, 56 in 1990. Jim Ralston is the all-time winningest football coach in Salem history, finishing with a 126-66 record. After retiring from coaching, Ralston stepped in for the next 12 years as Salem High School principal. Ralston said that being principal really differentiated from previous jobs he had, but was glad to have had the opportunity. Before he was offered the principal job at the elementary school, he was contemplating going into business as a change and working in management at McDonald's to have a completely different setting, but also still be around people. Becoming the elementary principal was also an opportunity he said he looked into because it happened at the right time. That spring, after he said he was retiring from school, the principal job at the elementary school came up, and it was something he couldn't pass up. Ralston said that being at the elementary school was a whole different aspect of working with kids because they were younger than what he was used to, and also at that age they were more innocent with less baggage to carry. In 2014, coincidentally, after Ralston's lucky number, he felt it was the right time for him to retire after being at Salem for 36 years. After a couple years of retirement, Jim and Linda moved up to Plainfield to be closer to their daughters and their families. They said it was hard to leave Salem after so many years, but it was the right thing to do. One of the 2 biggest influences on Ralston's life was his high school football coach, Donald Criswell. Criswell always had a positive attitude that Ralston admired him for, and also felt that they had a special connection. The other person who had a big influence on Ralston's life was his college football coach, Skip Matheson. Matheson believed in Ralston as a player, a person, and as a leader. He also gave him big opportunities while playing by putting his trust in him. Both of these men helped influence Ralston into the man he became. Jim said he is most proud of the relationships him and Linda were able to establish in Salem with the people and the players. There's just something special about the relationships you make when coaching any sport, but football is sort of different because it is so physical. Being able to connect, work with, and sort of get down in the dirt type of thing lets you create a special bond that is there forever.